Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Self-Driving Live. My name is Heather Eigen and I'm on the public affairs team at Waymo. I'm so excited to be here today speaking with Liza Dixon. Liza, thank you for joining us all the way from Germany.
Thank you so much for having me, Heather.
Awesome. Let's start with your background. So you're a usability engineer. Can you explain to our audience how you got into that field and what a usability engineer does?
Sure. So a usability engineer's job is to improve the effectiveness, efficiency, and satisfaction of products, systems, and services. So that can be anything from a coffee pot to a software app or even a medical device, just to ensure that these things work for the humans that they're designed to serve. So this job overlaps a lot with ergonomics, human factors, and user experience. I came to this through just a real interest in technology and seeing so many new cool things being produced and kind of questioning, like, you know, these are all great, exciting things, but are they really helping us? Are they really serving the people that they're made to? So I was inspired to make sure that that happens, basically.
That's so interesting. And you've spent a great deal of time focusing on autonomous vehicles. And we know that there are many descriptors for AVs, whether it's self-driving cars, robo cars, connected and automated vehicles. And there's a lot of conversation about the need for a baseline descriptor. What, in your opinion, is an autonomous vehicle?
It's a very important question. So an autonomous vehicle is one that is able to operate without any human input. So an autonomous vehicle is a term that is used to describe what we call level 4 and level 5 automation. So that means an autonomous vehicle that can be autonomous and limited by geography or under certain weather conditions, which would mean it's a level 4 system, or it could be fully autonomous, operating in all places in all conditions, and this is known as level 5 automation. What is not autonomous and is not self-driving are advanced driver assistance systems. These are the systems that are available today in consumer vehicles, and they are not autonomous and they are assistive, so you must monitor them at all times.
Absolutely. And if someone Googles your name and wants to know more about your research on AVs, the main word that comes up is autonowashing. Will you tell us what autonowashing means and when you had that aha moment that it's so important?
Yeah, so to put it simply, autonowashing is making a system appear to be more autonomous than it really is. So that is to overstate the capabilities that it has and to, at the same time, sort of understate the human supervision that is required to operate it safely. So autonowashing is a concept which I developed to describe this problem, which is mainly occurring in media and marketing of the consumer technology. Mm-hmm. So although, you know, I'm a researcher and I'm more on the academic side of things, I was reading news articles and hearing things that sounded really off and, you know, just in the general dialogue weren't right, and talking to friends and family. And it seemed that just that there was a lot of confusion about what's actually on road and how you're supposed to interact with it safely. So I felt that there was a need to sort of close this gap and improve the conversation and the way we're talking about things to set people up for good interactions.
Absolutely. I think your research is, really bringing to light an important conversation. And recently you said on Twitter that it's a necessary and long overdue ruling. Autonowashing is being recognized internationally as a disservice to consumers, not only as an advertising concern, but as a public safety issue. Talk about public safety and the foundations of trust and why it's so important for AVs and other emerging industries.
So in the study of the way people interact with automation in vehicle, we use the term calibrated trust. So this means just enough trust so that you're going to actually use the system, but not so much trust that you misuse the system and put, yourself, other passengers, or other road users, in a dangerous situation. So we know from different studies that people's ideas about the technology are formulated long before they ever come in contact with these systems. So someone who has been exposed to autonowashing, so hearing that a system is full self-driving, for example, just nowhere in that does it imply that they're about to use an assistive system, something that is supportive of their driving and requires their full attention. So it's possible that people come to this technology and have different expectations and perhaps, an incorrect understanding of their role in operating the system correctly and safely.
Thank you for that. And let's take a step back and talk about innovation and technology in general. And when, companies are creating new things, new technologies, how can they avoid washing? So they're telling, the story of what is true and what is not, while generating excitement about the potential benefits, but not exaggerating those benefits and still remaining truthful.
Yeah, so we have to be honest that vehicle automation is very, very, very exciting. At the same time, if it's not used properly, then you can't really realize the safety benefits of it and what it's actually going to be so good for. I think what's happening a lot of the time is that companies are using this naming of the system as a branding opportunity rather than an educational opportunity. So we have groups now like the American Automobile Association that has released guidelines for driver assistance systems, mainly being sure that these titles include the word assist or assistive, so implying that the system, again, is supportive of the task of driving rather than self-driving. We also have now the Associated Press style book. So this is a guide for journalists to standardize mass communications. They've also taken a stance on this issue of autonowashing, and they've suggested that the name semi-autonomous be dropped completely from our dialogue because it's just really vague and it implies that maybe the system can actually drive itself. And yeah, so it just kind of helps clear things up.
Thank you. And in terms of innovation and why we're having this discussion here today, Waymo is a fully self-driving technology company, as you know, that has tested in over 25 cities and deployed a commercial ride-hailing service in the Phoenix East Valley in 2018. What are your hopes, concerns, excitement about autonomous vehicles in the future?
Yeah, I think so far in this new frontier that we're all exploring, Waymo is definitely the leader in the space. So when you have test vehicles active on road, you are basically requiring the community to, actively participate in the development of your system. So it is extremely important that there's an ongoing dialogue with the local community and to have that, continued. So educating them, informing them about what's going on and what the potential risks and benefits are of the technology.
Yeah, and do you believe that fully self-driving technology will help communities or improve public safety, improve mobility? In what ways can you see that happening?
I think vehicle automation has a tremendous potential for good. However, I don't think that all these wonderful ideas we have for enhanced safety, environmental benefits, they're not, guaranteed to come to fruition. Like, this is going to take a lot of work, a lot of conscious, thoughtful, careful work to be sure that in the end, this technology really does all that we want it to do. So that means from day one, now and prior, just doing everything we can to support people's positive interactions with these systems and to not be autonowashing them and being realistic about what their limitations are.
Absolutely. There's a lot of potential benefit. And I think, as a company, Waymo is absolutely working toward fulfilling that promise of what self-driving could be. But again, a lot of hard work that goes into that.
Yes.
And so as a society, STEM is so important. Do you have any advice for young people, especially girls, who are interested in getting into fields in the STEM space, such as usability engineering?
Yes, so I'm more of an advocate for STEAM over STEM because actually I had an arts background before I came to engineering. But I think, it's really just important for absolutely everyone to, the greatest extent possible, just pursue all curiosities. And I think, in recent years, since I've been growing up, I'm an adult now, of course, but when I was a child and growing up, there's been just a huge effort to, give young girls the confidence that they need to pursue traditionally male-dominated fields, which is wonderful. But I do think this effort maybe hasn't been as well distributed as it could be. So across different demographics, racial backgrounds, we have, we can improve here, I think. And at the same time, it's not just about young girls. We need to take into account, I think, how we are raising young boys and what we're teaching young men about collaboration, about teamwork and what girls and women are actually capable of, which is in fact anything and everything. So
absolutely, I love that.
Yeah.
And what inspired you with that arts background to go into this other, part of the STEAM?
It's a good question. I mean, I growing up, I loved design and the way things were put together, and the way you can take something out of your head and make it into reality. But there was something I felt equally fascinating about mechanics and processes, sort of like a left brain, right brain mixture of sorts. And I really craved to learn more about like the inner workings of things, and how things are put together and how things are made, and what foundational functional layer there is on top of the form.
And as you know, the Waymo-led public education campaign, Let's Talk Self-Driving, launched in 2017 in order to be a reliable and transparent source of information about the potential benefits of self-driving technology, whether that's safety, mobility, connectedness. How do you recommend that Waymo and others listening to this conversation right now do everything that they can to ensure Autonowashing is called out?
So I think what I think is really important is empowering the individual, number one. So I really would like for anyone and everyone who reads an article, who reads a story, who hears something from a friend related to vehicle automation, to be cautiously skeptical. So I think there are two important questions that they can ask themselves whenever they read or hear something about the technology. And one that is a human required to monitor the system? And number two, what are the limitations of the system? Meaning, where can it not be used, and under what conditions can it not be used? And as far as on the other side of like the OEMs and Let's Talk Self-Driving and all of these initiatives, I think it's really important that we try to adopt a common language, and especially when it comes to self-driving versus assisted, there's a huge valley between these two things, and we really need to be clear about the difference.
Yeah, the levels of automation is something that when you're working on, the side of the technology side, it's very clear to you. But I think translating that into clear messages for consumers is definitely that uphill battle that everyone's facing right now.
Right.
But really, it's an important part of the education to ensure the safety of passengers and potential future riders. And our last question, what does the future look like? Do you believe that AVs will be embedded in the future of transportation?
I think that AVs are definitely a piece of a larger puzzle. So we're going to need to improve other means of transportation as well. But I think that AVs will one day be really good at solving a specific set of mobility issues that we've struggled with for a long time. So, improved safety is definitely going to be there. But I think something that AVs offer that is really different is that they can actually make us more autonomous in a sense, even those of us with certain limitations. So there's also, looking at the way the vehicles are made, from the tailpipe to the sourcing of the raw materials. All of this can help us to have cleaner vehicles for the health and safety of our planet. My greatest hope for the future is that it's safer, more equal, more compassionate. I think over the past few months, we've come to realize that we're all really in this together, and that our choices and how we treat others and how we treat the planet are all connected.
I couldn't agree more. And Liza, thank you so much for joining us on Let's Talk Self-Driving Live. For everyone who's watching this, please follow us on Twitter @selfdriving and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.